Hello, everyone. This is the Paranormal Truth Seeker. Hey, I've had a lot of questions over the years about things like ghost boxes. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about spirit box, ghost boxes, whatever. They now come in many different forms and have different scan rates. A lot of different things about them. I've got some of the older ones I'm going to show you guys, and then we're going to talk a little bit about where the idea came from. But before we get started, let me ask you, please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. That way I can keep bringing you guys videos and know that people are listening and want to know what I know or what I've experienced. And so if you have something you want me to cover that covers the subject of the paranormal somewhere, please leave it in the comments or send me an email. If you don't have my email address, it's prosghosthunters@yahoo.com. So let's go ahead and get started. So again, you can also look at my website, prosinvestigations.com. Not hard to remember. Anyways, with that said, we're going to go back to Voices Transmissions with the Deceased by Frederick Jurgensen. So in case you don't know who Frederick Jurgensen is, maybe you didn't see my other video, never heard the name before, this guy back in the 50s was basically trying to tape some nightingale birds and got some voices. And after about 3 times, he thought, this is really odd because I'm out in the middle of nowhere, shouldn't be getting these voices. And then on the 3rd recording, he heard somebody addressing him, and at that point in time, he figured, well, guess what? It's the voices of the dead. So, again, let me back up and say this. I've said this a billion times. We can't absolutely, with certainty, say we know that they're the dead. They tell us they're the dead. They've said other things too. They were ghosts, demons, angels, and the list goes on. Aliens and other dimensions. So, whoever and whatever they are, we don't know for sure, but we do know again, that the voices have been studied under scientific conditions. Frederick Jurgensen was one, Rod Ive later, Catholic Church. So you can do some research on your own and kind of come with that information. But for right now, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about where did the idea for ghost boxes come from. So I'm going to share that with you now. And what we're going to do, we're looking at this book, as you can see. And it's on my computer in PDF files. So we are going to skip to about page 71. So let's get there and see what we've got. Oh, right here. Okay, 70. Come on, 71, pop up. Okay, here we are, 70. Let's just go a little bit further. I'll grab a hold of it, I guess, and pull it down. Well, it doesn't want to cooperate tonight. Okay. So basically, he decided what he was going to do. He said, I don't remember anymore where I got the idea of hooking up a tape recorder with a radio receiver. However, I did it one evening and noticed right away that the use of the headphones, I could clearly hear radio broadcasts. So he gets into, if you read it, you've got it right there in front of you, that he could hear chaotic noise, colorful music, and, theater performance, singing, lectures, Morse code, things that you would expect back in the day in the 50s, and of course the Russian jamming signal. And he thought that he had heard Lena's voice whispering. Well, he could understand how her voice could be coming through the radio. So there you go. There's kind of the idea. It was hard for him to make out. It was a hurried whisper, which is something that you find quite often. He said, in the end, I turned on the tape recorder on record for a test and let the tape run for a few minutes and hooked up the radio. So there you go. That's kind of idea where they got the ghost box. But now we're just talking about hooking up a radio. He further goes on to say that since I was convinced I was hearing an ordinary broadcast, I turned the knob, a little back and forth, and of course he's only able to get bits and pieces of words and sentences of what he's saying, and then he heard saying a voice with clear emphasis on the last syllable. So what we see there is he's kind of twisting the knob a little bit, and that's probably where the idea came from. And we can read down even further, where down here you can see him, what he says about turning the knobs and causing disturbance. So that's kind of where the idea came from. So now people know kind of where the idea came from and how people have enveloped this concept and developed a lot of new equipment. So with that said, I'm going to get into some of the ghost boxes that are out there and let you see for yourself. Now, I've got a lot of the older ones. I've tried them over the years. I've had random success with them. And I guess the big question is to most people, does it work? Well, we can see what Robert Jurgensen said. We can see, some of Rod Ive and other people, what they say about it. So, it can work. It has some promise. I'm not going to tell you that every voice that you hear come over Ghost Box is that of some disembodied entity, whether ghost or demon or alien or other dimension. But what we do know is that the voices can be interactive. So one of the things that I found to do over the years is quite often I will ask them to repeat words back to me in certain phrases so that I know that I'm actually communicating with what appears to be an intelligent entity. So again, you got to have some sort of control measures. Again, some of this stuff was done by a number of people over the years and different results. I will tell you this, one of the things that EVP researchers have noted is that our attitudes have a lot to do with it. And I have found that true. When I'm dealing with people that maybe were angry, suffering depression, it seems like the results that I wanted just weren't there. So you could say maybe it influenced it somehow. And the voices have said that in order to have communication with the other side at optimum conditions, really you need to be in a loving kind of mood. So you definitely want to be positive. And so some people say, well, you're so positive that you're hearing things that aren't there. Pareidoia, if you will. So I would just challenge you to make sure that when you get out there that you are in a good attitude, because it definitely affects results. I've seen this over the years in my own investigations with negative people around versus positive people in an investigation. Same people, different places. We could say perhaps it was the environment, but I can remember cases where I got out getting some really good EVP and then, some negative person shows up and, well, things go bye-bye. So I think it has something to do with our energy is kind of what they're saying. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to talk some about the different ghost box versions that are out there. All right, so let me move this over to here and let's get started. All right, in the center there, we have what a lot of people will refer to is a shack hack. Now that's a 12469. This was probably, as far as I know, the first shack hack there was. I picked it up, I think it was about $19, probably over 10 years ago. This particular model does not have an external speaker. It is one of the preferred ghost boxes, in my opinion, that I've used. And the reason that I say that, I'm going to show you. And that is that it doesn't quit scanning like some of the other models out there. It'll just hit a random station and stop scanning. This one continuously scans. You've probably heard. I'm going to turn it on here in a second for you so that you can actually hear it. Kind of makes a thump noise as it's moving along. Now again, when you're using things like ghost boxes, you really need to use a lot of control words, have words that are repeated back to you that you're not going to hear on the radio very often. I'll use things like peanut butter, watermelon, pepper, things like that you're generally not going to hear. I'm not going to ask a question, is there anybody here? And all of a sudden, it's scanning through the channels and I get Bob. Hey, it's Bob here. No. What you want to do is you want them to respond, this is Bob, or my name is Bob. So try to get more than just one word. Quite often I hear too many people using things like this, ITC devices, again, instrumental trans communication type devices, and they simply ask for a name. So there's a big possibility you're going to pick up a name, or how many you're going to hear a number. So you want to ask them that name. You also want to say things like there are when you give a number, 12, whatever. And that's what I do. I always use control. Now I use other things along with the ghost boxes quite often. Of course, you want to have a voice recorder. Some of the other things I use, like an Emf Detector, and some other devices sometimes, compasses and whatever. Excuse me. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on for you and kind of let you hear what this particular ghost box sounds like.
Power on.
That's amazing that speaking haven't even turned it on. Oh, no, that was a speaker. Sorry, folks. All right, so we're going to hit the power button. Once I hit that power button, I'm going to hit the scan button, and you can hear it. So I'm going to let it run just a second. Okay, so the idea is that we're scanning on AM. If you use FM, you've got way too many voices. You would ask these questions and hopefully get a response. You're going to have a tape recorder running, or you can take something like a wide adapter, plug it into the speaker, and directly into the mic of the tape recorder, and that way you don't have voices. But you won't hear yourself speaking if you do something like that, or some other source if you want to record. So sometimes those kind of come in handy. All right, so with that said, that's the 12469 popular ghost box back in the day. A lot of people buy them for Radio Shack. Go in, you do some minor altercations, and it'll continue to scan. Another popular ghost box back in the day. I don't like this model as well, and the reason being it'll stop scanning, and I'm going to turn it on for you. But it is a 12587, and I think it was about the same price back in the day. And that's this ghost box. So basically, same thing. You turn it on, and you can hear it. Got a pretty good sound to it. But push a button, it'll start scanning. And again, you can ask questions. You want to make sure you ask those control questions to get a response. So it's not bad. I've had some pretty good luck with this particular ghost box, but it just seems sometimes when the signal's a little strong, it'll go ahead and it'll shut down on me. But this is not a bad one. Again, it's a Radio Shack, what a lot of people refer to as a Shack hat. So there's just some information on some ghost boxes. There's a lot of different things out there. I'm surprised it didn't stop scanning. Usually it'll scan a minute or two before it actually locks onto a station. The other thing is the screen doesn't stay lit, so if you're doing it in the dark, with a 12469, you definitely can see the screen when it stops. Another one that was kind of popular at one point was a Jensen ghost box. That would be its SB55, and people got these things at Target, and they're relatively cheap, and I don't think the results with them were as good. But later on, they came out with the products that had the scanners and the radios and everything, and then recorded. So those things were kind of a need. I never bought one, but I had friends who did. So there's a lot of things out there that can be used for ITC devices. Now, something I want to share with you that I did was actually took a mixer, and as you can see all the ports here and the channels. And so I would plug in two ghost boxes and allow them to scan, and quite often I would most often use something like this on an AM static station. So now I've got two ghost boxes running AM static station. And this is what I use for a microphone. I would use these for kind of a powered microphone. Now, the advantage to doing it this way, I call it the contact system, was that I could plug into these and I could control how much volume I wanted from a particular item so that nothing was overwhelming one another, kind of balance the sound out. I had really good results with it. So just a good ITC method. Some of the other things that I would use, devices like Emf Detectors sometimes, compasses, and other things to see if I get a reaction. Now the problem with using Emf Detectors is that quite often radio signals and things will set them off. Anyways, I just want to share that with you. That's kind of the history of how ghost boxes and those type ITC devices came about. There's a lot of things out on the market now, echo boxes, all kinds of different things. It's nothing new. With the system I designed, I can take any device as long as it has an external jack and plug it in and make it part of the system. I've got really good results with this system. I just wanted to share that with you. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email me or leave it in the comment section, and I'll take a look and answer you as best I can. So I just want to thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, again, contact me. And like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.